I've been seeing your work many times, and I was again thrilled about your tour. I don't know what you thought about it, but I thought it was amazing. I thought it was so interesting again and again. So thank you for having us today. And we have another Sophie, she's also French. She's also an artist. And she will help me, we'll facilitate this talk together. So we have some questions, we have prepared some questions to Sophie, but also to you, because we would like it to be a conversation, so feel free, just like in the tour, asking questions, whatever question you would like to ask. So some questions are for Sophie, but if you feel like you do relate to these questions, just talk to us. Talk to Sophie, and then we might have some questions to you as well, and then we try to make it like a very smooth conversation between us. All right?
And I have no idea what the question she will ask.
No, we have prepared. She has no idea. But actually, I think this is Sophie to get started with the first question.
Don't worry, Sophie, because you know the topic.
Okay, right. And you know us as well.
It's about your work. I think even though we've been following you for a while, there's still many questions that we want to cover. So thank you for inviting us for this talk.
Merci.
First of all, I've known you maybe for 3 years, and I always look forward to the work that you're going to present. It's always very surprising. And I really love your artistic world. And I was wondering, you've been exhibiting for only 4 years now,
yes.
Or is it more?
Yes.
And it feels to be so part of you. I was wondering, what was your creative outlet before you started exhibiting?
I think I have none. I think I have absolutely no time, because I was just crazy working in my previous companies. So I was not used to go to see art and to create myself. The only extra activities that I have after work was doing some gym, running. I think that just to sweat a bit after my crazy days, and that's it. So absolutely none.
So you were leading a very Hong Kong lifestyle.
Exactly.
I think so. She's more from Hong Kong than any of us here, but she was.
Right.
So my second question is, how do you turn from this life, maybe I'm jumping a little bit, but how do you turn from this life, which is very well settled, organized, following some rules and routines, can you jump? Because this is a very strong question I have. How can you come from this background and then suddenly, more or less suddenly, turn to something completely different that is full of, I would say, dangers, uncertainties, and then start and create yourself, and then create your own world and also your own day? Because when you have to go to 8 to 5 to an office, that's very different. So how do you do that?
But first, I didn't find it suddenly. It was very progressive, and I will explain maybe why. And after you say danger, and I don't feel that I put me in danger in any way possible, but I will explain you why. First, when I quit my job 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I was not intending to do art, absolutely not. I was just I drew a list of all the things I wanted to do, and among all these things there was like working on wood, so I did this wood bench for my husband. We played piano. I wanted to learn how to do jewelry, so I do some jewelry lesson. I wanted to learn to work on leather, so I think obviously in my list there was a lot of manual things. So probably I wanted to extract my brain, put my brain here, and to do some manual stuff, because I remember that in my list there was also another thing that was driving a truck on a highway. So I guess I wanted to have just something like a road, and I don't have to question myself, and I just have to follow the road, and that's it. And I think that it was probably because, don't you want to sit? No? It was probably because I was too crazy working, and I just wanted to rest my mind a bit. So I started to do a lot of different stuff, and the idea was to just do 1 year break, and after to see what happened, maybe come back to my previous job, or maybe see if there is something else happening. And after 1 year, my husband bought this camera for him, but he never really used this camera. So I start to use this camera mainly to shoot him because he played in a band, and I start to shoot him. And then after I got the chance to do some nude portrait, and I start to do some nude portrait, and then I start to edit the photo a bit to make the photo more fun. And after I wanted to create my own story, so I start to manipulate my own photograph, and step by step. I start to create my own story and work with my anxiety and with my paintography, so this kind of work. And even without realizing myself, I was step by step entering something more photo, art, expression of myself. And then I start to exhibit, and then we ask me to exhibit, and then I have some other artists say, oh, maybe we can do something together, and very smoothly it makes me here today. So there was no intention at all to become an artist, and even right now it's still difficult for me to use the term artist. I start to feel as an artist for the first time, but it's quite recent for me. And I didn't put me in danger because everything was very smooth, and I have an husband. So it means that I can quit my job for a few months, a few years, and so
you have the financial security.
Yes, but it was quite a struggle because I did at the beginning I did not want to be dependent from him because I always worked and I am a woman and I want to be financial independent. And at one point I still struggle a bit with that because honestly, I'm not earning enough money to live with my art, that's for sure. And I'm not sure I even want to make some money with my art, so it's another problem. So this question is still struggling for me, but financially it was okay, I was able to do that. And it's and I don't put myself in danger because I just feel totally myself in this world. So, and it was very progressive.
Very smooth indeed.
So I think this leads to a question we had, but you sort of answered it, but it's also for the whole audience, is at what point can one call themselves an artist? And I know it's a question that you were discussing, and I thought that maybe somebody wants to share here, or maybe you want to share first.
Yes, I can.
What point do you think I am an artist?
I think that first you become an artist by the eye of the other. When when you start to show your work, but I think it's not enough to show your work. I think you become an artist when other people it's my opinion, I don't know, when other people start to call you an artist, or sometimes when some people tell you, for example, when I met Guillemette, she told me, you did something else before being an artist? For me, you were always an artist. So it's this kind of remarks you start to hear, or the fact that people start to talk about you, or that you can see that people are moved by your work, that say that, oh yes, maybe I'm not doing that only for myself, but as there is some viewer, as there is some sharing, maybe I start to become an artist. But I don't know.
So anyone can say something about his or her being an artist? How do you feel about it? Any insight? Who can claim to be an artist here? Raise your hand.
I think
it's difficult, right?
It's quite difficult to define how am I an artist, and especially I think in Hong Kong. To me, sometimes I think I am an artist because I make my own artwork. I do portraits, and I usually show it to the public or my friends, and some of them are okay, it's a nice piece, but in many situations I could be so confused that I still need to think about how could I live in Hong Kong. Maybe in many cases I cannot sell my prints or my artwork, so I have to use my professional to continue my life, my living. So it's quite, yeah, so sometimes I'm so confused. I just I always say, in my professional, I sort of like a plumber. Why do I say that? Because I'm actually the same as a plumber. They use their tools to fix the water tap, yeah, something like that. And actually, my tools is a camera, so it's no different. Yeah, and people also appreciate that. The plumber he fixed my tap. Yeah, so yeah, I'm always confused about that. Am I still an artist?
But you're confused because you're saying that you can't be 100% artist because you can't make a living out of it, and then you need to have something else on the side. But for example, if I take Gilles, for me Gilles is a total artist, but he's having another job daytime, but to me he's not really, he is, but this is not how I know him. So for me it's just, he's not just, but he's also an artist, even though this is something he's doing on the side. But I would define him much more as an artist than a banker, for example.
Well, yeah. To me, it's probably similar to what Sophie said. I suppose it's very hard to define yourself as an artist. I mean, it's not something very obvious because it's hard to have to observe yourself in a way, you know, to get on the side and look at yourself. Oh, is this guy an artist? So, but at the same time, like Sophie said, it's probably when people start to see you as an artist, it probably is the beginning of what defines you as an artist, instead of yourself concerning. But it's very hard, I think, to define yourself as an artist because it's not very tangible as a definition or whatever. While someone else, even though you may not have a clear definition of what is an artist, but he can feel it. He or she can feel that, oh, this person to me is an artist. He looks definitely like an artist. He acts as an artist. So that's the first thing. And the second thing also is when I see someone as an artist, usually what it means for me is that apart from the fact that this person is doing something, it's also this person is talking to me. It's like I feel connected, like there is a dialogue. When this artwork, even it could be like totally abstract or totally, you don't know what it's about, or it's not about your life or whatever, but still it talks to you, you feel a connection. And someone else on the side could be totally, you know, could not see, could not read anything. There might not be any dialogue. So the artist is like, can be a relation between two specific people and maybe not the same artist with someone else. It can be very specific to the relation.
That's such a nice definition.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
I like
a
it.
few really interesting definitions. Thank you for bringing that up. I think the second topic we wanted to talk about is, of course, your inspiration, your creative process, and what triggers your creative work. So I think you had some really interesting questions on that when we.
I don't know if it's interesting. It's a very complicated question. I need to read it out. So, like, because for me, like when I see what you're doing, it's a mix of so many stuff. So it's like abstract patterns, like. The one we see there is you have this pattern, which is you said it was the thyroid, but actually it's very, if you don't know it, it's very abstract, right? And then all above you have the moon, which is very, not abstract at all. So you have recognizable shapes on the one side, abstract patterns, and then also you have lots of mixed medias. So obviously I don't need to say it again, but painting, things that you paste, things that you saw, blah blah. So really, and now you even have a video. So I was wondering, how does it look like in your head? Because it seems to be very mixed. And does it reflect some strong aspect of your personality?
Yes. How is it in my head? I think it's like this.
That's what I said.
But I think it's like this. It's really like this, but sometimes there is something that there is some thread here, and sometimes I feel that there is a lot of things. It's like, and some things there is a thread, and I know that if I pull it, there will be something, and to pull it, sometimes it creates some other knots, but sometimes if I focus and usually to try to pull it. I like to go swimming for 1 hour, so in order to make the knot less messy, or just to stay here and look at the neurons, and then I know that I can start to have something taking shape. Otherwise, it's a mix of usually there is a lot of daily things, like I think that there is a dust, there is some emotional things, there is a lot of often I just want to take my brain and put it in a box and close it because it's too messy. Right. So this is my end. It's
I still remember, Sophie, you shared with us 2 years ago your exhibition, and then you said that you like putting the artworks actually is one of the USB device that you put all your thinking and notes into USB device to store your memories. I was so impressed by this idea.
I saw that. Okay.
It's a nice analogy.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you recall that?
No, I didn't recall that.
Too messy, yeah.
No, I didn't recall that.
I think you share the same thing, that your brain is in a mass and you always have so many ideas that you come always like this.
Right.
And then, but later on you said that that's why you have the urgency, or you want to create something to store this kind of memories. Of
Yes. No, I didn't that.
And you said that like a USB device. I was so impressed by this point.
Oh, I see that the USB device.
Write it down.
I don't remember that. But I remember that I talk about the memory, the fact that I don't have a lot of memory, and my first artwork I did was because there was I have a huge emotion or huge thinking, and I did not want to forget. So it's the reason why I start to do some paintography and things like this. So not to forget some moments or some emotion I feel.
Yeah,
yes.
Emotions. You said that you want to store the emotions.
Yes, right. So your question was what? It was
So the trigger is the emotion, you would say. Trigger of it all is the emotion. When you show us this, it's more...
No, it's not an emotion. It's also, I see the finger toes of Guillemette, and I was thinking, oh, she's not wearing some nail varnish.
I don't have French.
I say that you have less white hair than before. So it's a lot of very common things mixed with emotion
thoughts
and
mixed
so
with emotions.
But what you said about the USB key, I mean, this is something, maybe a question we have later, but the fact that you want to record, the recording for you is something very important. I remember that the work is some kind of recording, but maybe we'll leave this aside and I move to my next complicated question. Because when you look at neuroplasticity, and then it sounds, I mean, I know that you have been researching a lot. It's not small research or how do you call that, superficial research. Is you have a lot of inquiring, and then I don't know what you have been reading, but probably books, so you are inquiring and reading a lot, and then sometimes what you explain about what's going on in the body sounds like the latest research, the ultimate research done on this particular topic, for example, and then you turn it into something extremely poetic and cryptic at the same time. So do you think that you have the need to understand thoroughly things like that, how the brain works, how does it affect the body, do you feel that you need to understand it thoroughly to act and then to create after? Maybe I just cut my question short. So that I cut it short.
First, I'm not doing elaborate research, mainly it's Wikipedia.
Okay.
And it's not yes, I read a book about neuroplasticity, but I didn't, and yes and no. It's a bit like just mainstream Wikipedia stuff, and sometimes I like to read more scientific articles, but so I didn't spend 1 year to study neuroplasticity before doing this one. But for sure, I think that I need to understand what happened in the brain when I did this structure. Because I remember that when I was doing neuroplasticity, so it was an artwork I did to get rid of a frozen shoulder I got. There is the idea of, because I read a book, and in this book it was talking about a guy that would get rid of one of this pain by looking at image brain. And I wanted to find to do the same, so I wanted to find this image brain to try to cure my shoulder, but I was not able to find this image brain, so I created this one. But I remember that when I created this one, I said, could it work if it's not image? Could it work if it's not 3D? So yes, I needed that. I wanted to be sure that it can work before to start and understand why it was talking about looking at image and why looking at image can change a pain to be sure that it will work for me.
So it could not be only aesthetic, it had to be therapeutic.
For me, I would have never done that just for an aesthetic reason. Neither that. If there is just an aesthetic reason, for me, it's like, I feel that when I do an artwork only with the purpose to be beautiful, it's not a successful artwork. It means I'm not satisfied about the artwork. But as soon as I put inside something related to my struggling or with a story or something, the work becomes artwork. Otherwise, it feels like there is something missing. I don't know why, but it's always happened like this. Sometimes I do something without having, without wanting to tell a story or something, just I try some different technical aspects, and then I look at them and say, okay, it's beautiful, but I'm not moved by what I see. But as soon as I start to put some struggling or things inside, I say, okay, now it changed totally, it's not the same. But maybe for the other people, they want to see the difference, I don't know, but for me, it looks like it makes the difference, it makes a difference.
So you mean it has to have a purpose? You need to have a purpose.
For me, I cannot do art without purpose. For the moment it's therapeutical, but I do not do only therapeutical things. I do other things, but at least I want to say something.
Now, what about paintography? Was it something? Was it purpose? Was there a purpose?
The paintography, it's a technique. It's not. All the paintography I did, this one was the purpose of getting the list of all my molds because I need to do a checkup. So it was just in order to not procrastinate this checkup that I did this series. So most of my paintography series are because I want to get rid of something. I mean a pain, an anxiety or something, except Variation en Miroir. Variation en Miroir, it's a project I did with an artist called Anne-Christine Vaudour, and we exchange our ID picture, and based on our ID picture, we make 5 different portraits of each other. So I paint Anne-Christine as a geisha, as an animal, and etc. But typically, this exhibition was very interesting for me technically, but there is something missing in this.
So the purpose was
Purpose is important.
Well, so
the center of your work.
So the purpose cannot be only aesthetical.
Even if I try to inside some of this artwork to put a story or something, there is one quite strong story inside, but.
No, that's a question that we could ask to you guys, because how do you see the purpose of your own artwork, which I'm sorry I don't know.
Now, sorry.
No,
I was quite interested because I never saw your painting, Andy. I saw online, but and there is a lot of abstract painting, and I was wondering if there is and often the title of your painting, there is something in the title that shows that it's abstract, but there is something inside that you want to express.
Yeah, exactly. I think for my painting, because I didn't learn art before, I just self-taught oil painter, and all my paintings are abstract, and I just actually for all of my painting, I didn't have any idea before I paint like this, and I just go to the beach or go to the park or at my home and just to follow my heart, the feeling at that particular moment or particular period of my life, what I want, and I just pick the red color. And even during the half of my painting, I don't know what I'm doing actually. Maybe 70%, 80%, 90%, I almost finish it. And I look at my whole painting, oh, let's name this painting. So it's something related to my heart. When I pick the color and how I whether I use like impressionism dots, or some curves or some just brushes, lines. I just follow my heart. I mean, it's kind of put your heart, put your mind, put your what you think about your brain or your life into something. Use the art, use the oil paint, oil color. It's that kind of like the tools for you to express yourself in reality. And
so you say something to extract, but do you see it as therapeutical, for example, or just
kind
like
of
just
like art therapy or aesthetics.
Okay, Sophie, you wanted to.
One thing that you were saying was also a question we wanted to ask Sophie is, when do you consider your art to be finished? Do you ever consider it to be finished? So you said it's 90%, and Sophie also, some of them are still in progress. Is there any end to it, or maybe there's a link in between artworks perhaps? Or?
Yeah, I think when I feel in the all the blank points, all the blank parts of my painting, and I when I look at it, I feel it's very beautiful. It's really I'm touched by my own painting. And I think okay, I'm done.
Okay.
But when you're a photographer, it must be different because you don't finish unless you add something on top, but you need to select.
Yeah.
So how do you select? Maybe you can try. How do you select the best picture?
So for me, I'm just a guy taking pictures, so I'm not an artist or anything. But for me, I do use programs to enhance a photo. So I guess that is a creative process.
Yeah, indeed.
Because there are two modes in me when I look at pictures or photos. One of them is just to get it done, which is a lot easier because you can have presets on the program. The other one is to make it more artistic. So there's the commercial or the more mainstream looking, especially when you look on Instagram. There are certain presets in terms of color palettes that people love. So there's that part. But the other part is more experimental. It's what happens if I put the exposure all the way up or down or change the tone curve. So I guess that's similar, although a lot easier than what you are creating, but there's still that process. So it's not just snapping a photo and then that's done. At least that's how I think about it.
Yeah, indeed, you're right. You have lots of tools nowadays to modify.
And when you edit a photo, do you want to, when you edit the photo and you change the tones or the luminosity, do you want to exacerbate, how do you say? To enhance the mood of the photo by changing the tones and everything?
Yes. So just try to see how much brighter or how much contrast could you push before it turn into something no one could recognize, and just dial it back right before it becomes like an abstract thing. Because for me, I still want something that's, I guess, it's not abstract for me, so it's still something people can see, or I can see that's people talking, or this is a painting that I took a photograph of. But I do push it to the limit, and just to see how it goes.
And do you put some notes under your picture?
Well, I do that for Polaroid, but not for digital. I just don't have the habit to, because Polaroid, you can just write something on it.
Because I know that Crystal, she likes a lot to tell the stories behind the picture, and it's like your photograph and your the story are connected.
Yeah.
The photo cannot exist without the story, and the story cannot exist without the photo.
Actually, I think I use photo and mix the color. Yes. 有一下英文的样子。Called what to say? I think when I image something in my brain, I will use just a camera, like just a tool. I will catch it. Just I want that photo, the people can see my brain. Yeah, but actually I use a creative idea. I use color like my emotion.
Sorry, I'm getting carried away by listening to you. Just to keep listening.
Yeah, well, we wanted to move to the. Yeah, actually, we were already going toward the topic of the therapeutic process, and then I just wanted to say something. Yeah, that your whole work looks like an achievement of resilience, because resilience is a big word. Nowadays I teach at a school, and they have to be resilient. You need to be resilient, but it's true in your work. I mean, because what amazed me is that you have a health issue, like a frozen shoulder, and you still make something about it. It's sometimes even thanks to that problem you encounter that you can create and find a new path. And it's not exactly a question, it's just a statement I want to make. That really, I admire that a lot, because we have lots of, everybody got lots of issues in their life, but you encounter a new issue and then you make it something out of it. And that's very remarkable, I would say.
It's funny because I'm very anxious about getting some disease or getting sick, or that my husband died, but I realize that if I look at my life from 10 years ago, every time there was something bad happening in my life, I transform it into an opportunity. So I think, why I'm so anxious? Because even if I learn something very bad, it always makes my life after more interesting, even if there is some elements I would prefer to not have lived. But
do you know the Chinese? Okay, you help me, guys. Do you know the Chinese tale? You know about the man who had a nice property and then a son, and then one day his horse, his best horse, goes away, and then all the neighbors come. You have lost your horse, and blah blah. It's very bad. And he's like, we'll see. And then the horse comes back with a better one, and then his son goes to the war, gets a broken leg, but then he doesn't go to the war. And this is something like that. That you never know whether something good or bad is really good or bad until you make something out of it. You should read that. You know the story?
No, but a bit now. But
so Sophie, what was your?
I think linking to your therapeutic process to your art, do you feel that showing it, exhibiting it, is part of the process, of the healing process? I mean.
I think I was not sure about that a few months ago, but I think it's a part of my healing process in the sense that. I'm not good in social interaction. Let's say in normal life to interact with people. I'm always either shy or either too rude, But here, to show people my art in my studio, create a quite intimate discussion with people. And it's like it gives me authorization to use my own code, social code, to discuss with people. And yes, it's quite a healing process for me, because it makes me realize that people can accept me like this. I can talk in a very intimate way without hurting people and without annoying people. It's just that I need to find the right people, the people that are interested in that, and in an environment in which I am comfortable. So yes, it's in myself because it makes me accept who I am and to realize that it's the way I like to talk to people. I like to talk deep with people, and I'm not good with small talk. So it's healing in the sense that it makes me accept who I am. And even to say, because I always feel very ashamed to be different, and now I'm quite, I would not say proud, but quite happy to be different.
So you found a healing that you didn't expect, like if you started with neuroplasticity or the alcohol diary?
Yes, by discussing with people about my art, it's another layer of healing process.
So a double healing process because...
It's double. Ouais, double.
Ouais.
Enfin,
Ouais.
plus 50%.
And did you take this out of the studio?
Yes, sometimes, but it's different when it's outside the studio because in an exhibition place you cannot talk as much as in a place like this, and you never know if the viewer wants to talk a lot or if he just wants to appreciate the art by himself, herself, or if she or he wants only to look at it and go away. But here I know that when people came here, they are willing to spend some time here. But after it's another struggling point. It means I cannot just have social interaction inside my house. I don't want to cut myself from the other part of the world, and I don't want just to be focused on myself as well. So but at least it makes me accept who I am.
So it's part of the healing.
Yes.
It's not the total healing, but
It's part, yes. It's a cerise sur le gâteau, a cherry on the cake.
Exactly. And
The icing on.
so there's another field that we wanted to go into. Well, we can go back to those questions maybe later on, to the more personal related ones. But we sort of oppose chaussette B and Sophie. So there's the personal you and then the artist you. And we're thinking that both are very intricate.
Very what?
Intricate, maybe.
Okay.
Guillemette, if you want to ask more about
To
that.
dig into that, yeah. So because your topics are extremely personal, we could say maybe most artists are coming from but with you it's obvious, and you tell us your story. So you're talking about your mental, well, it's a bit going far to me, but mental health disorders maybe. You're talking about that, you put the question. So for me, put the question of the intimacy, and then its universal dimension. This is just what we talked about, how something so intimate related to something very specific, like, more that happened to be maybe a half rhyme. How can they lead to something universal? How can they reach to people? Can the artist actually, because for me it's kind of a definition of an artist is that someone coming from him or herself and then opening it up to the outer world, to the people.
But it's difficult for me to answer that because I don't think about that when I create an artwork. It's quite selfish when I create it. I don't think about the viewer. I think about myself, and I even don't think. I think about it after, because when I show my work, I can see that some people are interested or they share some stories. So I can see that even if it's a very personal story, people can relate on addiction or other struggling. But I mean, when I do my art, I don't think about that. Even if I think more and more about that, because I can see that people talk to me after and say, oh, it makes me think about that, or I have the same issue with that, or it makes me think that maybe I can get rid of this pain if I find a way to look at it. So for me, it's more a collateral effect. But I like this collateral effect. I like this side effect. I really, really like it, but it's not my first intention.
I see. But it's true that everything is like, we come here and this is not only a studio, this is also an exhibition place, and this is also a home. So there is this fine line between what is your private life, your public life, if I can put it in that way. So how do you draw the line? How much do you want to draw the line in between them? But you answered a bit before.
I'm not sure I want to draw a line because I think it's probably one of the reasons I felt so I always feel very different from other people is the fact that when I meet someone I can be very transparent, saying things about me and asking some questions to people. They say, I just met her from 2 minutes and I'm already asking that. So I guess that it's just that right now I'm feeling more comfortable to do it, but I always used to do that. So I think I am very transparent. So I don't put really a line, except that technically I don't let my door open and I just have a 2-day exhibition and that's it.
No, because I was also thinking about, I don't know if you're familiar with the French artist, which is also called Sophie. I don't know if this is the new trend. So she's called Sophie, which is very famous. She has been doing things for, I don't know, 20 years, maybe even more, 30 years. And then she actually puts her life into, how can you describe it? Installations,
many different
videos, books, photographs, and she likes to dig into other people's life. She likes to sneak into people's life, and then she put like she well, maybe it's too long, but then people love her because there is a lot of humor in her work. But at the same time, she can, for example, one of the videos is her failing marriage. She goes to Las Vegas, I think, with her husband, and then the fact is that they have no sex. And then each day she will finish by no sex last night, and then the next day, and then no sex last night, and then and then until one day, sorry to break that, then she doesn't even say we understand. But it's very funny, it's very touching, it's so personal, intimate, but it touches you because I don't know where something. And I was wondering where do you draw the line again between art, very personal art, and something like mere exhibitionism, for example? How do you can say this is art and not exhibitionism?
How can you say that it's not and not exhibition?
De l'exhibitionniste, when you put your life so much in front of others, but it's.
But I think that at the beginning, for me, it was a bit like exhibitionism. But I don't know.
I also want to ask is that would you regard you yourself also part of the artwork? Because I feel like this exhibition is so with so strong affect because Sophie, you yourself activate all of your works. Because from the very sort of traditional exhibitions, we will have, of course, we'll have a lot, the artist sharing the personal journal. I mean, we have a lot of artworks like this. And then the artist maybe just present his or her idea simply by text. And so we'll just really read through all the curatorial statements to know, okay, what is this painting going through? But now I feel like Sophie, you yourself is the very key element of this exhibition to activate the very vivid details of each artworks. So in this sense, I feel like you are also the very strong artwork in your exhibition as well. So I think is that like, would you regard your personal or exhibition, or I would like to ask, would you regard yourself as also your artwork? You yourself is the artwork.
I think that if I'm not here to tell the story, my artwork is not very interesting. I think that even the construction of this exhibition is, I think, the storytelling around the exhibition that makes the exhibition interesting. Because if I just put a text, I recover my memory. I realize that I didn't think about wine. I realize that I think that it is quite recently that I think about that. I think a few days ago, I see this exhibition almost like a performance, and so I'm part of it. I'm the actor, even if I am also the creator, but I'm the creator.
So you would not imagine to just what the thing that you explained to us, you could not imagine just to type it, put it on, and then you can have the explanation, and that would not be the same.
Last week when you sorry?
I think you even tried literally to push back and just let people, in a way, experience themselves the exhibition. But at some point, it's like you can't refrain to interact with those people. At the end, you can't. It's like because it's part of the experience in a way, I suppose.
Yeah, so that would definitely not be the same if you were not there here. Too.
Well, not at the same, but at the same time, I think some of it is there's two layers for me. There's the fact that you explain all this, and I need it and I appreciate it. And at the same time, there's a lot of poetry in all your works. For example, Neuroplasticity, I could just watch it and just feel something that I can't really say what it is, but I see the projection on the wall. And there's an aesthetic aspect of your work that is also beyond the therapeutic or
also explanation.
The explanation. I think for me, I experience it this way, but I think it brings something. It brings something more. I can't say it's higher. It just brings something more to it that you are part of this art. And actually, it brings me to another question I had, which was sort of the conclusion, because I'm careful of the time. Which is, how do you see your work moving from where it is now? Do you see other ways of expressing, like using your body, for example? It's far-fetched, but why not? As you said earlier, it's just part of it. So this is also a question that we had. Sorry, I have a son calling me non-stop on this.
Do you like it?
No, I told him I'm busy. So where do you think it's taking you? Where, without putting too much thoughts into it, what do you feel that you would like to explore?
I don't know where it will lead me, but I think it's quite. I never think about the future in my life, and I was never excited about the future of what will happen. But right now, I'm quite excited to see what I will, what I will become and what I will do. Because I am excited for me to see what will happen, because I feel that I am entering a new world and plunging into a new world that is becoming me. And I know I can feel that I am becoming me, but I'm not 100% me for the moment. So I don't know what will happen, but for sure I will try different other media, and I will. I don't know.
So it's really finding yourself, you feel?
I think I have found the main topic. I think it's finding myself, and not only myself. It's also finding some answer to other questions I have, not only about me, about some other things, and to have the possibility to discuss with people about this subject that are very interesting for me. So I have some projects in my head, but for the next months or next years after, I have no idea. We just let the things happen.
All right.
I'm looking forward to the next steps.
We are very excited too, actually.
And maybe other things to address, maybe other issues to address, or happiness, or can be so many things.
I don't know.
Right. And then finally, I think we wanted to share some more reflections about what is being an artist. There were so many reflections about that. So we talked a bit already about when do you become an artist, and the other questions we had around that, Guillemette.
Me?
Yeah.
You would have another question? I don't know.
It's just
No, yeah, I think the question we had in mind that do you need to be an art lover? That was your question actually. Do you need to be an art lover to be an artist?
Yes, but I want to ask this question to the people.
We can go ahead, yeah, exactly.
So do you think that you... C'était quoi la question?
Your question was, do you need to be an art lover to be an artist?
Yes.
And my question was, do you need to have lots of artistic references to be an artist? So that's
it's not the same question.
It's not the same question.
Right.
Which one do we start with? Your question.
So do you think that you need to be an art lover to be an artist? If you want to answer.
the art lover to be the artist. I think definitely for sure, yeah. I mean, if you treat your life, as an artistic journey, then you will create so many beautiful pieces, and they can have interaction with you, and you can feel something through your own artwork from time to time. So I think I always call myself art lover, so people will say, okay, you're a painter, you're an artist, or art lover. I think it's important.
As an artist, it's more like you enjoy doing what you want to do, and at that moment you want to create something, you create something. You haven't thought about whether it's an art or not.
Which is your case?
Well, me, I always thinking about this question because I'm not art lover. I never go to exhibition. It start to change a bit. I saw your exhibition, for example, and so it changed a bit. But I cannot say that I am an art lover and I have no art culture and everything. So I say, how can I be an artist if I don't like art? But I feel that I'm becoming an artist, but I don't like art.
But there's different forms of art. I see so many books here. I see many books. I know that you like to read. I mean, literature is a form of art.
Yes.
Maybe it's because you don't like when you may actually love art. The thing is that you don't look at those pieces of art as art. You look at it as something simple which talks to you probably, and you don't put it maybe on a pedestal, which makes it maybe less scary or impressive or whatever, which I don't know maybe. Because obviously you can't really say that you are not art lover because there's a lot of things that you read.
Yes. I was thinking about visual art, but you're right. I like watching movies. I like reading.
And also, you are interested in what other artists do.
Yes, but it's very recent that
for sure.
I start to be interested by other artists.
Maybe that's also because you are.
Because I am.
You put it less on you put those stuffs less on the pedestal.
Yes, maybe.
You are less impressed, not in a bad way, but more like you try to know it's less like something very big and that you can understand because it's
yes, because maybe when I was thinking about art, I was thinking also of Le Louvre or Pompidou, this big giant exhibition in Paris.
While art made to so be simple and people around you.
Maybe.
And you like making. There is something like the craftsmanship in your. And I was very interested in what you say, because when you say that you are an artist, when you just make something and you enjoy it, and you have something in you, like you are in bricoleuse, you're kind of a DIY person. So it's also another question that so what's the difference between craftsmanship and then art in itself? But that's for next session.
Okay.
Next year. Well, maybe I don't know. Maybe you can call it a day.
Yeah, I think that also you have a big sensibility for decorative arts. We see it around us, and you use it. So I don't know if there's art mineur or majeur or whatever, but so at the beginning of the talk when you said, well, no, I was not interested into art, I have to say I wanted to go further and dig more into that, because I'm not really sure that you're coming from a bare background, from something that nothing was there before. But yeah, so we've reached almost the end. We just have a few minutes, so maybe if you want to ask more questions to the audience, perhaps what do you feel is a good piece of art? How would you? And then I have a last one. I think all of the rest we've addressed, but how do you judge that it's a good piece of art?
Me?
No, you asked the question, so.
You can just repeat it.
You could also say from your feeling, but we've had the definite answer, so somebody has a definite answer. But
something that initiates some response
Yeah,
to the
I
audience.
think that's the
Like
thing.
can be laughing, can be crying, can be disdain, can be I don't know, can be
Like lately, whenever I come to your place and you, oh, you know, I have a new art piece, and I go, like, oh, and I was at this bar, and I know you're an artist. Because just
probably
it's
the,
awesome.
the worst art piece is probably something that left you totally indifferent probably. Something that
Which you see sometimes in the very big museums. I mean, so many times we walk into a museum and we see an art piece and we're like,
The other art.
yeah, two pieces of wood, blah, blah, blah,
But
and then
sometimes you feel uneducated, you know, so there's always a balance, like, oh, I'm not educated to that, or sometimes you feel like this also.
or you need explanation, and sometimes it's nice to have
Yeah.
explanation like we do, like when we go around you, but I still feel something even though you're not especially around, because but some pieces are like, if I don't have an explanation, I'm like, okay, let's move on, let's go to the next room, and I don't feel nothing, but maybe we just need to dig and then we need explanations.
And so finally, the last question was about NFTs.
Oh yeah.
Because if we look at the future in a way, I think Sophie, you did NFTs before NFTs.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
For me, I did some digital art.
Yeah, you did digital art. So, how do you feel about NFTs today? Is it something that you're looking at in your work?
Yeah, so many investors here invest in NFT metaverse. Like, I think when you connect, in the art lover perspective or artist perspective, to be honest, I saw that, I heard that so many galleries, the founders or the artists, they don't buy it. It's actually, they don't buy this kind of concept as a kind of, or the pretty format of the art. Though it's a trend and it's a cryptocurrency, but yeah, in my personal view, I don't think it's really the artwork, the true artwork. We will see the pixels. Though it's very the value of the NFT increase automatically, but I don't think it's really something from artistic heart you create something else. Yeah, because I think it's more like commercial value or
Yeah.
Depends on.
Yeah, I'm not very much into it, but to me it's like looking at a picture of a famous painting on a book, and then you see it for real. It's still not the same already,
Yeah.
so...
But after, for me, NFT, let's say the first digital art before talking about NFT, because NFT there is a money implication, but if the digital art for me it can be very interesting because you can have through immersive experience and something very beautiful with digital art. After NFT, it's a second step. It's the fact that you make your art valuable by the NFT, and it's another layer. But if you look just at the digital art, it's an art. So at least NFT for me put highlight on digital art that was quite underestimated before, and there is very good digital artists. But what is for me a bit a shame, it's only because right now we say that digital art, we can make money with digital art, that makes the things that makes I think the reason to enlight the digital art, for me it's a money reason, but at least it's a reason, and now it's put some spotlight on the digital art, and it's okay.
So you're not an art lover, but you're a digital art lover?
No, neither. No, but I think it can be interesting as a painting, as a sculpture, and as
I think, I really like your definitions of things, I think it's also part of the dematerialization of our lives also, in a way, so it follows that trend.
I think you can have some similar experience with NFTs and with the neuroplasticity, something very immersive and very, and it can...
Since this is NFT, this can be an art.
Yes, it's NFT, but it's not NFT, it's digital art. And it's not NFT because I don't want to sell it. But it's digital art.
That's good.
But there's a case where the actual piece of oil painting on the canvas
Can be
so less than the the digital print of it already. Yeah, so
less price than the digital one.
yeah, the real ones are so less than the digital one.
Do you think this is driven by demand? Is it the buyer
The
that...
type of NFT, of course, and well, the digital print of the artwork also has some moving pieces in it,
Yeah.
so it makes it a little more interesting.
That's
Yeah.
the reason why it's.
Yeah, but it kind of got me thinking like, well, I'm an actual oil painting artist, but I don't make digital art, but can I just like snap a picture and then put it on NFT and then actually show more than my actual artwork, and that's an interesting topic.
And make your water moving into
like recently, I don't know if you saw the Banksy piece at the Sotheby's sale.
Yeah.
Did you see that piece?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It was a basic piece of painting, and then he put the char, how do you say char?
Tanks.
The tanks on it. Did you see how much it sold? I think it was one of the best sellers of the Sotheby's sale. Anyway, it's part of this reflection of what gives value to art and maybe to the buyer. What was the buyer?
Depends on and also artist.
All right. I think we can call it a day.
Thank you all.
That was very nice. Thank you.
Thank you for all to come. And just before, I want just to say that Dave, so he's a photographer. I never saw his photo before. But Kenneth is a photographer. He did some nude photography, very with a lot of movement, and he works also on the blur effect. It's very interesting. Crystal, I really liked the portrait she did. She did some very sweet portrait of some people, and she always liked to tell the story on an Instagram account. And June is a painter. We met, I think, last year at one of these exhibitions. And she's also a sculptor. She did some recently some small ceramic sculpture of some food. And some medicine as well. I saw the last one.
Yeah.
And Andy is an oil painter and more abstract, I would say, but I never saw his painting.
All right. Well, thanks everyone.
Yes.
And then I think we can move to the buffet.
Yes, time.